Yo, good evening. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody from USA, International, Canada, Long Island, aka Strong Island, the tri state areas of New Jersey, Connecticut, the five spots of Brooklyn, Bronx, Manhattan, Staten Island, and Queens. This is your man and homie, G Money Stacks, aka the Gregonator, rhymes with now or later. Your host with the most, missing the still only nomad. Unstoppable independent podcaster, creator, YouTuber, and Queens, New York native who is also a New York Giants and New York Mets fan from the neck of the woods of Laurelton, Queens, New York. You are now rocking with me by tuning in, listening, streaming, and watching the 115th episode of the Sports Edition show. Excellent, fun, vibrant talks podcast. Live and direct from StreamYard alongside the comfort of my room where I do my podcast recordings. And this is the platform to talk about what's going on with these New York teams as far as the New York Giants, the New York Knicks, a little bit of the New York Mets, and a little bit of everything. All right. And I got a lineup full of sports topics for you today on this show right now. Now, if you missed out on any episodes, please feel free to click on that subscribe button on the sports YouTube channel page so you don't miss out on when I'll be on the air via live stream with new podcast recordings, new episodes, and of course, leave a like and a comment on the sports topics. Tell me how you feel about the sports topics being discussed in each episode. And you can also leave a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts and a review, a positive review. All right. And and on there you can express yourself on Apple Podcasts in your review. How do you feel about the sports topics? How you feel about the sports topics in football news, basketball news, baseball news, including the New York teams and everything else in between. All right. Now, in this episode, we're going to be talking about the recent left hand injury to Francisco Lindor. I want to break down the symptoms behind it and how it affects his power when it comes to um, having a having a fast bat, when it comes to swings of home runs and stuff, and how it will affect him and how long it'll actually take him to get his power back. So so I got that to talk about. And yeah. And before we get into any other sports topics, we gotta start with some unfortunate news that happened recently in the NFL, starting with hang on. Starting with the quick side bleacher bar. All right. For those of you that are new here, in case you don't know what that segment is about, this is basically talking about some sports topics that are trending in sports news on sports websites, whatever it may be. It'll be rumors, rumor alerts, and stuff. I cover it all. So here we go. Okay, let's start off with some unfortunate news to a recent athlete. All right. Let's get into that right there though. So so let's see. We have a recent passing. Let me look up the name. Hang on a second. All right. All right. So we got a recent passing. Unfortunately, we got to talk about it. So let's get into it. All right. So unfortunately, we got a football related passing in the NFL. Dallas Cowboy um Marshawn Kneeland, a 2024 second round pick who had recently scored his first NFL touchdown, died early Thursday morning. He was 24 years old. News of Kneeland's death broke shortly after 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time on Thursday, which took place November 6th. It came as a shock to many, with legions of sports luminaries honoring the former Western Michigan star. Oof, that's crazy, man. Yeah. News of Kneeland's death broke shortly after 9:30. Details related to Kneeland's passing remain sparse at the moment. Here's what we know so far. How did Marshawn Kneeland die? Cause of death, apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound. What the hell? That's crazy, man. So Kneeland died of an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound, according to the Frisco Police Department. Texas Department of Public Safety troopers attempted to stop a car Kneeland was driving for a traffic violation around 10:33 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday night. Police claimed that Kneeland refused to stop, leading to a pursuit. He evaded their detection before crashing on southbound Dallas Parkway. However, according to the Athletic, police had stopped pursuing Kneeland at the time of the crash. Frisco police said Kneeland fled the scene of the crash on foot. He was later located at 1:31 a.m. Eastern Time, dead of what appeared to be a self-inflicted gunshot wound. The Cowboys released a statement Thursday morning confirming that Kneeland had passed away. And here are some quotes. It is with extreme sadness that the Dallas Cowboys shared that Marshawn Kneeland tragically passed away this morning. Marshawn was a beloved teammate and member of our organization. Our thoughts and prayers regarding Marshawn are with his girlfriend, Catalina, and his family. The NFL Players Association issued a statement paying tribute to Kneeland and offering support for those who knew and loved him best, including players. The NFL Players Association is deeply saddened by the passing of Marshawn Kneeland. His impact on those around him was immeasurable, and his loss is felt profoundly across our community. We're working to ensure that players have the support they need, and our condolences are with Marshawn's family and loved one. So, what happened to Marshawn Kneeland, you ask? So, TMZ, according to TMZ, they obtained police dispatch radio from Kneeland's girlfriend, who told operators that Kneeland was armed, had a history of mental issues, and told her that he would end it all. TMZ reported that the NFL also phoned Plano police after one of its players, believed to be Kneeland, texted his family goodbye. Officers responded to a welfare concern at Kneeland's residence at 11:40 p.m. Eastern that took place on Wednesday, November 5th, according to Star Telegram's Nick Harris. A Plano Police Department spokesperson told Harris the officers did not make contact with anyone on the residence. Kneeland was reportedly pursued by police after allegedly committing a traffic violation. Police said he refused to stop, leading to a pursuit. Minutes after evading officers, Kneeland is said to crash on southbound Dallas Parkway. Police said he fled the scene of the crash on foot. Officers found Kneeland dead of an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound at 1:31 a.m. Eastern Time on Thursday morning. Yeah, and Ian Rappaport, who you may see on Good Morning Football overtime, said in a statement on X, actually, he says, I am added to confirm that my client and dearest friend, Marshawn Kneeland, passed away last night. I watched him fight his way from a hopeful kid at Western Michigan with a dream to being a respected professional for the Dallas Cowboys. Marshawn poured his heart into every snap, every practice, and every moment on the field. To lose someone with his talent, spirit, and goodness is a pain I can hardly put into words. My heart aches for his family, his teammates, and everyone who loved him. And I hope they feel the support of the entire football community during this unimaginable time. And of course, I ask that you please give his loved ones the privacy and compassion they need. So there you go, right there. So SIP to Marshawn Kneeland. All right. Okay, now we got the bad news out the way. In New York Giants news, I want to actually get to this actually. So let's get to it. Hold on. All right. So, all right, we got some all right, some New York Giants news right here. So, um if you haven't heard, the New York Giants recently hired John Harbaugh as the new head coach. All right, so let's get into it right here. Yeah, so new Giants head coach John Harbaugh speaks with members of the media during a press conference welcoming Harbaugh at the Quest Diagnostics Training Center in East Rutherford that took place on Tuesday, January 20th of this year. I mean, last year, excuse me. It should have been, wait, hold on. Hold on. Must have got the year wrong. Anyway, 2026, not 2025. All right, so no one ever likes to be fired from a job, especially when the dismissal is made public, as it as is the case in the National Football League. And when it comes after over a decade at the position you previously held. And yet, that's the situation that John Harbaugh, the new head coach of the New York Giants, found himself in after the Baltimore Ravens, the team he headed for 18 seasons, decided to go in a different direction after failing to make the postseason for the first time in the last 4 years. But that's all behind Harbaugh now, as he settles into his new role with Big Blue in what has been a whirlwind of a time between getting acclimated with the area, hiring a new staff, doing deeper dives into the player personnel, attending meetings, and doing media interviews about his transition to the Big Apple. But for the 63-year-old Harbaugh, everything has gone as smoothly as can be, and the reality has quickly settled in. And he said in quote, it does feel like the New York it's it does feel like the New York Football Giants. Harbaugh told Brian um, Kilmeade of Fox News Channel's Fox and Friends when asked if he feels like he's the Giants head coach. Um, then he says in quote, I mean, it got a big sign right over there that says New York Football Giants. We got the 4 trophies up here in the field house. Harbaugh didn't take long to decide that the Giants' job was the one he wanted if the team felt the same way about him, which of course turned out to be the case given the full court press that team ownership put on that ultimately convinced Harbaugh that the Giants were the first and only team he would interview with during the recently completed hiring cycle. There was some minor bumps along the way, specifically working out the language in his contract, which took an extra couple of days from the time he agreed to take the job to when the deal was officially signed. But all along, Harbaugh never had any doubts that things would work out. I always kind of knew it was going to be the Giants, and I felt like, man, this is what I thought it was going to be like. This family environment, first class operation. And he also stated in quote, had a chance to be in New York City, this fan base, that was all a really big deal. But it can't just end at that. It can't just end with a good feeling. It had to be something that we knew we could build together the right way. Even though the team is 7-27 over the last 2 seasons, no team is as far as you think. No team is as close as you think, he told Kilmeade. Every team in the National Football League is kind of on the same plane. It's not like college football where you have these big swings. So this team is good enough to do great things next year, but you got to learn it. And the Jackson Dart factor, one of the big attractions for Harbaugh when it came to the Giants' job was quarterback Jackson Dart, with whom the head coach had a chance meeting during his formal interview, one that lasted nearly 2 hours. When I looked at him, when I looked at the film, I saw a talented quarterback, Harbaugh said of Dart. I saw the same thing I saw with Lamar Jackson. Jackson Dart got to create an offense for this quarterback at this point to give him a chance to be the best he can be. He's going to play Jackson Dart ball. Dart is just one piece of the puzzle. I'll bet a big one. But overall, Harbaugh said he feels good about the Giants and has an idea of what he wants the team to look like. He's hired a highly experienced staff of assistants who, unlike past staffs, have the vision but not the methods to make it a reality, aligning with the Harbaugh wants the Giants to be moving forward. Which is what exactly, you ask? Sorry. What you could say with certainty, the New York Giants football team will get off the bus and walk into every one of those stadiums this year and will expect to win the game, Harbaugh said. We're playing the kind of football that's going to make the fans proud. And if they don't, which again, Harbaugh is not expecting to be the case, he knows that the fan base, which has been deprived of a consistently good football team, is not going to be shy about speaking up and cranking up the heat. Harbaugh, though, said he can handle it. Yes, I can take it, he said. What are they going to do? They are going to say bad things about you. People can say what they want, but at the end of the day, Harbaugh is worried about one thing and one thing only: winning. I can't wait to go and start throwing punches, he concluded. All right. All right. All right. You know what? Let's make some noise for John Harbaugh and being able to say it proud during the press conference and how he delivered his answers. All right. This is what the New York Giants fans has been waiting for. All right. So so yeah. So all this is just the wait and see. Now, the next time football action starts is going to be in September of 2026. There's going to be a pregame in August of this year. So don't worry, there'll be more. So let's make some noise for John Harbaugh and being hired as the new head coach. All right. Um On to the next sports topic here. Let's see. Hang on a second here. Let me make sure I don't leave out anything. Let's see. Let me see. Let me see. Okay, let's talk some basketball news. All right. Let's talk some basketball news, man. Now there is a rumor alert in the air that we need to talk about here involving Luka Doncic. All right. So this is from the Heavy website. There are plenty of wild NBA trade rumors centered around the Los Angeles Lakers. A recent idea from the Ringers, Bill Simmons, may take the lead for the wildest idea ahead of the NBA trade deadline that took place on February 5th of this year. Wow. Wow. Yeah, this is where I come in to debunk those rumors, okay? That's what I'm here for. All right, Simmons floated a trade pitch that has the Lakers trading Luka Doncic and Maxi Kleber to the Milwaukee Bucks in exchange for was it Giannis? I can't pronounce this guy's last name, so I'm just gonna spell it out for you folks. AntetokouNMPO. All right. The founder of the Ringer admitted that it has little chance of happening, but wanted to explore the merits of the proposed deal. I want to talk it out. The analyst explained in a January 23rd episode of the Bill Simmons podcast. The part that makes no sense is Luka going to Milwaukee. But if you are in Milwaukee, you do You do this now, and you have 2 weeks to trade Luka. It's a Luka auction. Remember when all the teams were mad last year? Remember last year when Utah, they were like, we have 17 picks. We would have traded all of them for Luka if we knew it was available. It's like, all right, Milwaukee has now acquired Luka. Simmons added. Here's the auction. Let's go. You guys got 2 weeks to make us your best offer, and then they basically just shop him. Let's explore the trade rumors. You know, it. I actually was listening to a sports podcast actually recently, and they was talking about the Giannis thing going to possibly the New York Knicks. Now we don't know what's going on here. Yeah. Um yeah, so let's explore the latest NBA trade rumors. Okay, so the chances of the Lakers trading Doncic are next to none, but it is an interesting idea to explore. Antekounmpo is on a 3-year, $175 million contract with the Bucks that is slated to go through the 2027 to 28 season. The Lakers would be wise to learn from the Dallas Mavericks, who still have not recovered from trading Doncic. Antekounmpo is dealing with a calf injury, and it will be interesting to see if the Bucks star is still moved at the trade deadline. The Steinlines Jake Fisher reported that Antekounmpo's injury will not prevent the superstar from being traded. End quote. Antekounmpo, meanwhile, had only sparked further doubt about his future with the franchise by repeatedly airing his increasing frustration during recent post-game media availabilities. Fisher wrote in a January 24th story titled "The Latest on Giannis's Future." Now, the reason why I've been spelling his last name because I don't want to butcher the guy's last name. It's very hard to pronounce, so trust me. I know a lot of NBA broadcasters on TV sometimes have a hard time pronouncing his last name, so that's why you just call him by his first name. That's all you gotta do. All right, so the result. When contacted in recent days by the Steinline, multiple officials from rival teams and some additional well placed sources indicated that the league's number one curiosity as the trade buzzer nears had most definitely become Antekounmpo's status rather than potential trades involving Morant, Davis, and Porter. That's crazy, man. And then there's another rumor in regards to LeBron James. So much of the Lakers trade rumors will center around LeBron James, not Doncic. Like Doncic, it will still be a surprise if James is dealt, even though there has been plenty of drama. James has attempted to downplay the rumors that there is tension between himself and Lakers ownership. Quite frankly, I don't really get involved in that or the reports or whatever the case may be. I've seen a lot of it. Obviously, James noted on January 23rd per California Post's um, Kobe Price. I don't really care about the reports, to be honest. Quite frankly, I I don't really care about articles. I really don't. I don't care about stories. Then what the hell do you care for, LeBron? That's the question. You know what I'm saying? Like, what exactly do you care for? Like, it doesn't make any sense, man. You know what I'm saying? Um, like it doesn't make any sense to me. Anyway, let me see. Yeah. Um, yeah. Yeah. So there was a rumor about Giannis possibly coming to the New York Knicks. Okay. Rumor about Giannis possibly coming to the New York Knicks. That's interesting. That's interesting. I actually heard that. Okay. Whoa, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute here. Wait just a minute. This is not, wait a minute. This is now no longer a rumor about Giannis, but the LeBron James one is a rumor. All right. So of course, the New York Knicks were the first team mentioned in Giannis Antetokounmpo trade rumors. And while they still have hopes of landing the two-time MVP, several teams have entered the mix. The idea of the Knicks trading for Antetokounmpo before the February 5th NBA trade deadline remains unlikely, as New York is now targeting a move over the summer to add the all-time leading scorer of the Milwaukee Bucks. As he wouldn't come cheap, rumors on trading Karl Anthony Towns in a massive package for Antetokounmpo have floated around recently. There's also the possibility of the Knicks having to move either OG an, a not hold on a new Anano Ananobi or Mikael Bridges in the deal, as they would need to send one of them to a franchise that would be able to move their own draft picks back to the Bucks for them to start a rebuild. However, what about the idea of keeping Towns in a trade that lands Antetokounmpo, a trio of those two paired with current franchise star Jalen Brunson could likely compete for at least a finals berth out of the Eastern Conference. And while it might not be likely, based on all the money and contracts that would have to be moved, it shouldn't be ruled out. Now, that's not really going to happen. It's an idea, but but from what I was listening to, what is it? I was listening to one of the episodes of Kicking and Screaming podcast by Bianca Peters from Fox 5 alongside with Lou Albanese, not to be um um related to Laura Albanese, to be exact, actually. So they was talking about, I think one of the guests was talking about that it's unlikely that it's going to happen because of their financial situation. So yeah, there you go right there. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Nick's Giannis trade idea that keeps Carl Anthony Towns. Writing for CBS Sports, Sam Quinn discussed the idea of New York trading for Antetokounmpo while keeping Towns to form a three-headed snake that would likely become automatic favorites out of the East. Keep in mind, any Knicks Giannis trade, including this one, likely couldn't happen until the offseason, but that doesn't mean it isn't possible. Here's what Quinn laid out. So hypothetically speaking, the New York Knicks received Giannis Antetokounmpo and Kelly Olynyk. San Antonio Spurs received OG Anunoby. Portland Trailblazers received Mikal Bridges and Jeremy Sochin. Brooklyn Nets received 2030 first round swap rights via Knicks. Milwaukee Bucks received Jeremy Grant, Harrison Barnes, Gershom Yabusel, Tyler Collette, 7 first round picks, 2026 more favorable of Hawks Spurs, 2026 via Wizards, top 8 protected, 2027 via Knicks, 2028 via Magic, 2028 more favorable of Celtics, Spurs, 2030 more favorable of Bucks, Blazers, 2031 more favorable of Spurs, Kings, 2032 first round swap rights. Quinn's rationale for a move like this, if all teams are on board, would be the minimal trade market for Towns. There have been conflicting reports on how willing the Knicks are to move away from their starting center. But according to James L. Edwards of The Athletic, the return is expected to be salary matching players and maybe small draft compensation. So, in that case, why not keep him with Antetokounmpo and Bronson? This deal would require New York to move Bridges and a non-Obi, but that feels worth it to keep the 2 All-Stars and arguably a top 3 player in the NBA. Trading Yabusel and Collette likely wouldn't be too hard, and though some picks would have to be included, again, the Knicks would still have a lot of talent left on the roster. The idea of an offense featuring Antetokounmpo, Towns, and Jalen Bronson is tantalizing, Quinn wrote. Between Antetokounmpo, Josh Hart, Mitchell Robinson, and Deuce McBride, the Knicks would still have a fair bit of defensive talent. Though, just an idea, a scenario in which New York makes this move along with the rest of the teams is unlikely. However, as Quinn wrote, putting all the possibilities on the table is the right idea for the Knicks if they really want to win the Giannis trade sweepstakes. A different Knicks Giannis trade idea if the Knicks fans aren't interested in keeping Towns, as he's putting up the second lowest scoring averages of his career and has been the scapegoat for this team all season. No problem. There are still a bunch of other scenarios in which New York lands Antetokounmpo. Writing for ESPN, Kevin Pelton and Zach Cram discuss another trade idea that sees the Greek Freak arrive the Big Apple. Oh, Greek Freak. That's funny. Oh, man. Oh shit, that's funny. Like the previous one, the deal wouldn't come cheap, but wouldn't drastically help the Knicks on defense and give them a duo that has already won a championship together. Hypothetically speaking, if the New York Knicks get Giannis and J. Rue Holiday, Portland Trailblazers get Carl Anthony Towns, Mikal Bridges, and Miles McBride. Milwaukee Bucks get Jeremy Grant, Matisse, Matisse Ty Bull, Gershon Yabuse. Hold on, Yabusel. Excuse me. Um, 2026 first round pick from the Wizards via Knicks top 8 protected. 2029 first round pick, best of Bucks, Trailblazers, and Celtics. Return of 2030 swap rights via Trailblazers, 2030 pick swap via Knicks, and 2032 pick swap via Knicks. As seen in all the Knicks' Giannis trade rumor, a deal with Portland makes everything easier. Yes, this one carries a very high price tag as well. But if Holiday could get back to his form on the Bucks and Boston Celtics, that's a championship formula for New York. The Trailblazers' interest in Towns is uncertain, but with Bridges and McBride, they'd likely change their timeline and look to compete with that group alongside Danny Avdija. Danny Avdija. Milwaukee is likely looking to start a full rebuild to have Grant and Yabusel as veterans, along with the haul of draft picks, would likely be the best scenario as well. The only roadblock would be the Bucks not getting a young star back in return. But if the summer comes and they don't like any of the other deals they've heard, this one can't be ruled out either. Um, but more importantly, the Knicks get a brief roster reset and look to fully compete for a championship. This framework would check multiple boxes. In addition to sending Giannis to New York, it would give the Knicks a perfect backcourt complement to Jalen Brunson and reunite Giannis with Holiday a half decade after they won a title together in Milwaukee. Cram wrote. In any deal for Giannis, the Knicks are going to have to give up a lot. Bronson is untouchable, but it will just come down to what combination of Towns, Bridges, Anun Obi, and their other assets they are willing to give up to land a player who would likely become the best to ever put on a New York basketball jersey. All right, so this is from Heavy. Let's see. Let me see. Yeah, one more NBA thing to talk about here. In regards to the NBA gambling scandal. Shit. The NBA's according to Sporting News, the NBA's illegal gambling saga took a turn just as the 2025-26 season began, as the FBI arrested multiple people involved in its investigation into sports betting, excuse me. This investigation has been hanging over the league's head since early 2025, when it was reported that the FBI was looking into players for their roles in potential illegal betting activities. The FBI finally acted in October, arresting several current and former players who are part of the probe. Damn, man. That's crazy, man. That's fucking crazy. All right. Okay, so here's what's happening here. Let me just make sure that let me continue where I left off here. So anyway, oh man, so let's see. Yeah, every sport appears to have its own gambling controversy, but the FBI's investigation seems to be focused on the NBA. The FBI announced that was undergoing two separate investigations that are still ongoing, one into sports betting and one into illegal poker games. Here's the latest on who is involved in the probes. So, NBA gambling arrests includes Terry Rozier. The FBI arrested Miami Heat guard Terry Rozier as part of a larger sports betting and gambling probe. Rozier was being investigated earlier in 2025 for illegal sports betting, and while ESPN Shams um um Sharania reported he was cleared in June. That appears to not be the case. Rozier was initially investigated for suspicious betting patterns while he was with the Charlotte Hornets in 2023, which was the same investigation that led to a lifeline ban for former Toronto Raptor player Jonte Porter. The NBA claims that it looked into the situation and cleared Rozier of any illegal activity. The FBI confirmed that Rozier was involved in the sports betting scheme by providing inside information to manipulate prop bets between 2022 and 2024. Rozier's attorney released a statement denying Rozier's wrongdoing, claiming the FBI just wanted to arrest a big name NBA player. Okay, so Terry Rozier's lawyer gives a statement to Pablo Finds Out. We have represented Terry Rozier for over a year. A long time ago, we reached out to these prosecutors to tell them we should have an open line of communication. They characterized Terry as a subject, not a target, but yeah, that's crazy, man. That's crazy though, man. The NBA announced that it placed Rozier on administrative leave. And NBA statement on Billups and Rozier being placed on leave from their respective teams. We are in quote, we are in the process of reviewing the federal indictments announced today. Terry Rozier and Chauncey Billups are being placed on immediate leave from their teams, and we will continue to cooperate with the relevant authorities. We take these allegations with the utmost seriousness, and the integrity of our game remains our top priority. Additionally, the MBPA released a statement supporting Rozier. In quote, the integrity of the game is paramount to NBA players, but so is the presumption of innocence. And both are hindered when player popularity is misused to gain attention, the statement said via Chris Mannix. We will ensure our members are protected and afforded their due process rights through this process. According to Shams Charania, Rozier will not be paid while on his leave of absence. His paycheck will be withheld and placed in escrow pending the outcome of the FBI investigation. A judge denied a request from prosecutors for a $10 million bond, instead requiring Rozier to put up his $6 million home for collateral and called for him to surrender his passport by that took place Friday, October 24th. Um, Rozier's lawyers released a statement to Front Office Sports and other publications reaffirming Rozier's innocence. Terry was cleared by the NBA, and these prosecutors revived that non-case, Rozier's lawyers said on October 24th. Terry is not a gambler, but he is not afraid of a fight. However, an NBA spokesperson later clarified Rozier had not been cleared by the league and that an investigation remains ongoing. On the NBA's investigation into Rozier from 2023, Commissioner Adam Silver said the league found insufficient evidence while the FBI investigation went deeper. Adam Silver to Cassidy Hubbarth on why NBA did not find what FBI found on Terry Rozier. We ultimately concluded there was insufficient evidence, but then cooperated with the feds who have subpoenaed extraordinary powers the league doesn't have. And this incident took place on Tuesday, October 28th. ESPN reported that Rozier was facing an $8 million tax lien from the IRS during the time of his suspicious activity. The guard was put on leave without paid by the NBA. But this action itself is being challenged by the NBPA. And of course, on December 8th, Rozier officially pled not guilty in a Brooklyn court appearance. He remains a member of the Heat organization. Chauncey Billups, Portland Trailblazers head coach and former NBA point guard Chauncey Billups, was also arrested by the FBI and the organization's illegal betting probe. According to ABC News, Billups did not bet on games in which he played or coached, as he was instead arrested for his connection to an illegal poker game tied to the mafia. According to the FBI, Billups was involved in poker games that sought to defraud participants by rigging the entire game, using former athletes like Billups to recruit players. Billups coached the Trailblazers against the Minnesota Timberwolves in both teams' season opening game. The NBA placed him on administrative leave the following day, and he will reportedly not be paid while on leave. Billups' attorney released a statement through ESPN Shams Charania. Excuse me. So yeah. Let me see. Anyone who knows Chauncey Billups knows he is a man of integrity. Men of integrity do not cheat and defraud others. To believe that Chauncey Billups did what the federal government is accusing him of is believe that he would risk his Hall of Fame legacy, his reputation, and his freedom. He would basically jeopardize those things for anything, let alone a card game. Furthermore, Chauncey Billups has never and would never gamble on basketball games, provide insider information, or sacrifice the trust of his team and the league, as it would tarnish the game he has devoted his entire life to. Chauncey Billups has never backed down. He does not plan to do so now. He will fight these allegations with the same tenacity that marked his 28-year career. We look forward to our day in court. Yeah, that's crazy, man. Yeah, this is crazy though, man. That's crazy though, man. So let me see. On November 24th, it was reported that Billups has officially pleaded not guilty per USA Today. And so there you go right there. And let's see. Billups' bail was set at $5 million, and he put his house in Colorado up as collateral per ESPN's Ramona Shelburne. Damon Jones. Damn. The FBI arrested former NBA player Damon Jones as part of the illegal sports betting and gambling investigation. Jones spent 11 years in the NBA and later was an assistant coach for the Cleveland Cavaliers from 2015 to 2018. The FBI announced that Jones is involved in both the illegal sports betting scheme and the rigged poker games investigation. The Athletic reports that Jones used his relationship with LeBron James to find out information about injury in 2023, which he then used to tell co-conspirators to bet on the Milwaukee Bucks for a game before the Los Angeles Lakers released an injury report. Jones also reportedly did this with a different Lakers player in 2023 to 24. On November the 6th, Jones appeared in court and entered a not guilty plea in both cases before being released on a $200,000 bond. According to The Athletic, in the NBA's investigations, um, in according to The Athletic and the NBA's investigations in the gambling scandal, it has asked multiple teams, including the Lakers, to hand over documents and other property as part of its investigation. Investigators are reportedly expected to seek documents, including cell phones and phone records from at least 10 Lakers employees, per The Athletic. The NBA engaged an independent law firm to investigate the allegations in the indictment once it was made public. An NBA spokesperson told The Athletic in a statement, as is standard in these kind of investigations, a number of different individuals and organizations were asked to preserve documents and records. Everyone has been fully cooperative. ESPN reported on November 24th of last year, 2025, that LeBron James did not know Jones was leaking information about his status for the 2023 Bucks game, as the two had not been on speaking terms for an extended period by the time Jones was indicted. Per ESPN, the indictment suggested that Jones had leaked information to one time regarding James's status, and another time regarding Anthony Davis's status. Damn, multiple arrests? Are you kidding me? Malik Beasley, who was part of the FBI's investigation earlier in the year, has not yet been arrested. Currently a free agent, Beasley spent last year with the Detroit Pistons while he was being investigated, but his attorney said that he was cleared of any wrongdoing in August. Let's see. Let's see. The FBI didn't name Beasley in either of its investigations, but investigative reporter Pablo Torres reports that Beasley handed his phone over to league investigators and that the investigation into him is still ongoing. Jiminy Christmas. Damn, not Kevin Garnett. Torres also reported that numerous former professional athletes participated in private poker games organized by those indicted by the Department of Justice. One player rumored to be involved is former Minnesota Timberwolves, Boston Celtics, and Brooklyn Nets star Kevin Garnett. Torres reported that Garnett attended a game in 2019. Let's see. Damn. Poker News was the first to report that Garnett was part of games in 2019. The Basketball Hall of Famer is not named in the indictment and has not been accused of any wrongdoing by federal investigators. Antonio Gates, Pro Football Hall of Famer Antonio Gates, has been implicated as he hosted and played an allegedly rigged poker game in Miami, according to Torres. Torres's report adds that the game was organized by Curtis Meeks, who was indicted by the federal government, that took place on Thursday, October 23rd. Damn, man. Gates's agency released a statement about the accusations. Jiminy Christmas, man. That's fucking ridiculous. So there is a statement that was posted on X by a person named Denise White. Antonio Gates has not been involved, nor has he been accused of any wrongdoing. Assertions to the contrary are false and without merit. There will be no further comments on this matter. Tyrone Lue, damn, sheesh. Head coach of the LA Clippers was reportedly in attendance at one of the Billups's poker games, according to Torres. According to multiple sources with direct knowledge of that April 2019 game in Vegas that we've been discussing, the same one where Billups was allegedly profiting off of an extremely suspicious hand and a rigged shuffling machine. Another face card in attendance was current Los Angeles Clippers head coach Ty Lue, Torres said. Let's see. At the time, Lue was an assistant coach on the Clippers staff. He hired Billups as an assistant coach in 2020. All right. So NBA players arrested on Thursday, October 23rd. The FBI arrested current Miami Heat guard Terry Rozier, current Portland Trailblazers head coach and former NBA point guard Chauncey Billups, and former NBA guard Damon Jones for their roles in an illegal sports betting and gambling scandal. Chauncey Billups was arrested in a separate investigation to Terry Rozier, but Damon Jones is involved in both investigations. Billups was arrested for his role in a rigged poker game scandal, while Rozier's arrest had to do with illegal sports betting. Relating to the gambling scandal, mentions an unnamed co-conspirator who lived in Oregon, began coaching around 2021, and played in the NBA from 1997 to 2011. That alleged co-conspirator is believed to be Billups, and the case alleges he disclosed confidential injury information about the Trailblazers during a late season game. Chauncey Billups poker scandal. The FBI arrested 31 people involved in rigging illegal poker games, including Chauncey Billups and Damon Jones. The scheme targeted victims by giving them the chance to play in poker games alongside former professional athletes such as Billups and Jones, both of whom carry name recognition. Chauncey Billups mafia connection. The FBI and the FBI said the mafia is who ran the rigged illegal poker games, which took place in the Hamptons, Miami, Las Vegas, and Manhattan. What we know about the illegal mafia poker ring, according to the FBI, those running these poker games recruited victims using big name athletes as the hook. Once the victims were in the game, the defendants rigged the poker games with a rigged shuffling machine, poker chips, trays with hidden cameras, contact lenses, and glasses that read marked cards, and X-ray poker tables that could also read cards. The defendants had an off-site operator dubbed the quarterback who read the cards using these rigging devices and relayed the information to those playing at the table. Overall, the FBI says it has been working on this investigation for 4 years, which resulted in victims losing at least $7 million. La Casa Nostra is the name of the Italian American mafia that initially hailed from Sicily. It directly translates to this thing of ours or our thing, and consists of the Bonanno, Colombo, Gambino, Genovese, and Luch and Lachise families. Will Chauncey Billups get fired? It is unclear if the Trailblazers will fire Billups for his role in this investigation, but the NBA did place him on administrative leave, which reportedly included him not being paid. Portland signed Billups to an extension in April and was set to enter his 5th season with the team this year. All right. Terry Rozier, Damon Jones gambling scandal. The illegal sports betting scandal involving both Terry Rozier and Damon Jones includes 6 total defendants and involve using insider information to exploit NBA prop bets. The FBI claims that Rozier told defendants that he would leave a game early on March 23rd, 2023, allowing the defendants to bet over $200,000 on his player prop unders. Rozier did, in fact, leave that game after 9 minutes, allowing the defendants to win their bets. As for Jones, The Athletic reports that he used insider information about a LeBron James injury in 2023 to inform the other defendants that they should bet on the Milwaukee Bucks for a game before the injury report was released. Jones also reportedly did this with another unnamed Lakers player in 2023 to 24. This is the same investigation that resulted in the NBA banning former Raptors forward Jonte Porter for life, as the FBI says Porter was threatened to participate in the scheme. Let's see. Rozier and Jones didn't get on the games themselves, instead receiving inside information to relay to other people who would place bets on the games for them. According to Spot Track, Rozier has made $160 million in his career so far, which includes a 4-year, $96 million deal he signed with the Hornets in 2022. According to Damon Jones's career earnings. According to Hoops Hype, Jones earned over $21 million in his NBA career as a journeyman guard. His final contract, however, was a 4-year, $16 million deal with the Bucks for his final contract in 2008. Okay. Okay. Okay, I think that's about it for that. So let's see. Speaking of gambling, even 2 former baseball players were indicted involving gambling. So this is crazy. This is getting crazier by the minute. According to the Independent, two major Major League Baseball pitchers were indicted on charges that took part in a scheme to rig their pitches during games to, benefit sports bettors. Cleveland Guardians pitcher Emmanuel Clase, age 27, and Luis Ortiz, age 26, were indicted Sunday. Both players have been on paid leave since July as the MLB investigated unusually high betting activity that took place when both men were pitching. Federal prosecutors in Brooklyn say the pitchers would intentionally toss balls instead of strikes or throw at specific speeds to ensure specific bets. The scheme began in May 2023 with Clase and later included Ortiz, ESPN reported. The pitchers were indicted on charges including wire fraud conspiracy, honest services were wire fraud conspiracy, money laundering conspiracy, and conspiracy to influence a sporting event by bribery, according to a 23-page indictment filed in the Eastern District of New York. Ortiz, one of the team's starting pitchers, was arrested Sunday at Boston Logan International Airport and is suspected to appear in federal court in Boston on Monday. Class A relief pitcher, has not yet been taken into custody, according to the report. The pitchers betrayed America's pastime, U.S. Attorney Joseph Nocella Jr. said in announcing the charges. Integrity, honesty, and fair play are part of the DNA of professional sports. When corruption infiltrates the sport, it brings disgrace not only to the participants, but damages the public trust in an institution that is vital and dear to all of us. Damn, that shit is not fucking good for these pitchers. And of course, so starting in May 2023, Class A would agree to throw balls instead of strikes or slower slider pitches and cue bettors in on his plans. The bettors would then use this information to place over 100 fraudulent bets on Class A's pitches on betting platforms. Prosecutors say that after coordinating with Class A bettors on May 19, 2023, waged that a pitch thrown by Class A would be faster than 94.95 miles per hour and won approximately $27,000. The stunt continued for several years, with Class A later looping in Ortiz to join on the scheme. This past May, Class A agreed to throw a slow ball during a game against the Los Angeles Dodgers, but the batter swung, resulting in a strike and costing the batters $4,000 after the game. Class A sent a text to one of the bettors with the image of a man hanging himself with toilet paper and a sad puppy dog face, the indictment said. Prosecutors also said in the filing that Ortiz was paid $5,000 for throwing an intentional ball on June 15th, and Class A was given $5,000 for facilitating the play. The two pitchers did it again on June 27th and were each paid $7,000, according to the indictment. It was not immediately clear how many instances of fraud occurred. Bettors involved in the scheme won at least $450,000 on pitches thrown by Class A and Ortiz, according to the indictment. In the statement, MLB said, and quote, MLB contacted federal law enforcement at the outset of its investigation and has fully cooperated throughout the process. We are aware of the indictment and today's arrest, and our investigation is ongoing. Their team, the Guardians, also noted in a statement, and quote, we are aware of the recent law enforcement action. We will continue to fully cooperate with both law enforcement and Major League Baseball as their investigation continues. Ortiz's lawyer, George Alice, said that his client was innocent and has never and would never improperly influence a game, not for anyone and not for anything. Class A's attorney did not return a request for comment. The pitchers could face up to 20 years in prison for wire fraud conspiracy, 20 years for honest service wire fraud conspiracy, 20 years for money laundering conspiracy, and 5 years for conspiracy to influence sporting events by bribery. Class A has made over $12 million over his MLB career and was scheduled to earn $6.4 million in 2026. Ortiz's salary in 2025 was $782,600. The charges are the latest as federal officials cracked down on betting in professional sports last month. More than 30 people, including prominent basketball figures like Portland Trailblazers head coach and Basketball Hall of Fame star Chauncey Billups and Miami Heat guard Terry Rozier, were arrested in relation to a gambling scheme. The MLB said it is monitoring sports betting scandals more closely since a May 2018 U.S. Supreme Court ruling that struck down a federal ban on sports betting in most states and opened the doors for online sports books to take up a prominent space in the sports ecosystem. Betting scandals have long plagued the MLB and professional sports as a whole. In 1920, 8 members of the Chicago White Sox, including shoeless Joe Jackson, oh shit, were indicted on charges of fixing the 1919 World Series. Shoeless, oh shit, oh shit. Yeah. While the players were found not guilty, they were banned from baseball until May 2025. The MLB suffered from another sports betting scandal in 1989 when Pete Rose was found to have placed numerous bets on the Cincinnati Reds to win from 1985 to 1987 while playing for and managing the team. Rose, baseball's all-time leader with 4,256 hits, died in 2024, still ineligible for induction into Cooperstown. However, the MLB's eligibility rules were updated in May of 2025, clearing the path for Rose to get Hall considerations. All right, so all right. All right, so enough with that shit though, man. Jeez. Hold on a minute here. Yeah, let me see. All right, before I go into some more Mets news, we gotta talk about the Cody Bellinger sweepstakes that's been wrapped up actually. All right, so this is from USA Today. After a protracted staring contest, the New York Yankees and Cody Bellinger have finally reunited. Bellinger and the Yankees agreed to terms on a 5-year, $162.5 million deal, according to a person with direct knowledge of the negotiations. The person spoke on condition of anonymity because the deal is not yet finalized. The agreement comes after an impasse on the length of contract. Bellinger was aiming for a 7-year commitment, but the Yankees hope to stick to a 5-year deal for the 30-year-old outfielder first baseman after potential landing spots were largely short-circuited by the signings of Kyle Tucker, who's also with the Dodgers, and Bo Bichette has been with the has signed a 3-year deal with the New York Mets last week. Bellinger met the Yankees ask for length of contract while ensuring a $32.5 million annual salary highest in Bellinger's career. Bellinger has experienced a career resurgence. Let's see. Resurgence after injury plagued 2021 and 2022 seasons with the Los Angeles Dodgers. Since then, Bellinger thrived with both the Chicago Cubs and New York Yankees, smacking 73 homers and posting a cumulative 12.1 WAR over the last 3 campaigns. Here's everything we know about Bellinger's new deal. So Cody Cody Bellinger contract details. Bellinger agreed to a 5-year, $162.5 million deal. The contract contains opt-out clauses after the second and third years, but they move back a year if the 2027 season is canceled due to a lockout. Bellinger receives a $20 million signing bonus and $32.5 million each of the first 2 seasons, guaranteeing him $85 million before his first opt-out. Cody Bellinger's stats. For 2025, Bellinger experienced one of his best seasons in 2025, finishing 14th in AL MVP voting in his lone season with the Yankees. His 29 home runs marked the third most he's hit in a season, and his best mark since belting 47 in his MVP season in 2019. Bellinger slashed 272, 334, 480 across 152 games with New York, accumulating 5.1 WAR in 2025, a stellar mark and his most since 2019. Bellinger also played a tremendous right field in pinstripes, racking up 8 defensive runs saved at the position in just 416 innings. Bellinger has played in at least 130 games in each of the last 4 seasons, showing a durability after his stint with the Dodgers ended after both shoulder surgery and a lower leg injury dampened his final 2 seasons. Oh boy. All right, speaking of injuries, man, we got to talk about this Francisco Lindor situation. Let me see. We got to talk about this Francisco Lindor situation. Oh wait, before I do that, I forgot to mention this topic right here. And this is pertaining to a congratulations to the Super Bowl champions, the Seattle Seahawks. All right. So, in a Super Bowl defined by smothering defensive performances, the dark side proved too much for a franchise once known as the NFL's evil empire. The Seattle Seahawks flustered the New England Patriots throughout Super Bowl 60 on February 8th in Santa Clara, California, to secure a 29-13 win and the second title in franchise history. Though the Seahawks fell short of recording the first shutout in the game's history after holding the Patriots scoreless through 3 quarters, the team notched 6 sacks, falling just short of a Super Bowl record. Coach Mike McDonald's overpowering defense served as the engine behind the team's run to the NFC's top playoff seed. Yet it was the dominant display on football's grandest stage that would go down as the unit's crowning achievement. Second year Patriots quarterback Drake May, who missed out on winning the NFL MVP award by a single first place vote, was thoroughly rattled by a diverse and unpredictable Seattle pass rush. The Seattle repeatedly overwhelmed rookies Will Campbell and Jarrett Wilson on the left side of New England's line in the early going, bagging 3 first half sacks. All right. So as the onslaught of rushes kept up, May and the rest of an offense that had ranked in scoring during the regular season couldn't find a comfort zone. At halftime, the Patriots had just 51 total yards, the third fewest of any team in Super Bowl history, and 4 first downs. All right, so the Seahawks defense keeps the big plays coming in Super Bowl. The Seahawks seemed to break the game open with Derek Hall's strip sack of May late in the third quarter. 5 plays after Byron Murphy II recovered the fumble. Seahawks tight end A.J. Bonner hauled in a 16-yard scoring strike for the game's first touchdown. May responded by delivering 2 downfield darts to wide receiver Mac Hollins, the latter of 35-yard touchdowns, to deny Seattle the first Super Bowl shutout in league history. But any lingering hopes of a comeback bid seemed to be snuffed out when he lofted an interception to safety Julian Love on the ensuing possession. Late in the fourth quarter, edge rusher Uchenna and Wosu punctuated the evening with a 45-yard interception return off a big pressure from cornerback Devin Witherspoon, who kept New England off balance throughout the game as a frequent blitzer. The Patriots defense makes their mark, but Seahawks stayed the course. The nerves inherent to the Super Bowl platform were on display early for the Seahawks when returners Rashid Shaheed and Velus Jones Jr. lined up in the wrong end zone for the opening kickoff. From there, however, Seattle managed to keep its composure. Quarterback Sam Darnold faced a similar outlook to his counterpart, with the Patriots' unrelenting blitzes affording him little time to work. But while Darnold completed just 19 of 38 passes for 202 yards, he frequently sidestepped the rush and avoided the game-altering setbacks that he proved susceptible to committing in the regular season, during which he led the NFL with 20 turnovers. Seattle sought further offensive stability through running back Kenneth Walker III, whose handful of big gains on the ground helped his team take a 9-0 lead at the halftime thanks to 3 Jason Myers field goals. Myers booted 2 more to set the record for the most converted field goals in a single Super Bowl. Seahawks Patriots shift perceptions and taken over 2 years ago for Pete Carroll, who led the Seahawks to their first title in the 2013 season. McDonald began his work operating in the long shadow cast up by the iconic Legion of Boom defenses. While the Dark Side group lacks the brand recognition or star power of its predecessor, the unit now has carved out a unique place in franchise lore. Carroll's team, of course, last reached the stage against the Patriots in the 2014 season, falling to the Patriots in crushing fashion with Russell Wilson's goal line interception to Malcolm Butler. Now, McDonald's crew charted a new course against the same franchise. The Patriots, meanwhile, had been seeking a record-setting 7th Lombardi trophy, while optimism was peaking as NFL Coach of the Year Mike V. Rabel engineered a 10-win turnaround. New England entered the game as a clear underdog and exits it with a record 6 Super Bowl defeat. Perhaps the weight of the task awaiting New England was foreshadowed by the pregame comments of San Francisco 49ers coach Kyle Shanahan, whom V. Rabel beat out for Coach of the Year. Said Shanahan in a pregame interview with NBC, and quote, "I know you guys want my expert opinion, but I haven't scored a touchdown on these guys the last 2 times we played them. So I don't know how good that is. And of course, on Sunday, the Seahawks left Vrabel and the Patriots similarly stumped. So, before I get on to the Francisco Lindor story in terms of his left hand injury, I want to actually say congratulations to the Seattle Seahawks for winning Super Bowl 60. All right. I wanted the Seattle Seahawks to defeat the Patriots because we were getting tired of hearing about them all the time, though. You know what I'm saying? So, so yeah, so yeah, they really defeated them. So, good for them, actually. Good for them. Yeah, by the way, a little side note about the Seattle Seahawks. They had a parade that took place in Disneyland, so they really deserve this though. You know what I'm saying? They really deserve it. Um, let me see. So I actually want to talk about this though, man. And I wanted to do a breakdown in I wanted to do a breakdown on the his injury and stuff. I forgot where I looked this up though. Hold on. Okay, so here's what's going on here with Francisco Lindor's injury, if I'm not mistaken, actually. So wait a second. Wait. So let's see. Hmm. Yeah, the first surgery he did, he had to do like a cleanup. Let me just read this though. Hold on. So yeah, so unfortunately, so not great news for the New York Mets. The president of baseball operations, David Stearns, announced that shortstop Francisco Lindor will be evaluated for a stress reaction in his left hamate bone that took place on Wednesday. David Stern says that Francisco Lindor will be evaluated tomorrow for a stress reaction in his left hamate bone. Stern says that the Mets are optimistic about Lindor being ready for opening day, even if surgery is required, which would be a 6-week recovery time. According to Stearns, Lindor told the Mets he was experiencing soreness the past few days in his left wrist hand area, and he is now being sent to a hand specialist to see if he requires surgery. Should Lindor need surgery, the timeline for recovery is 6 weeks, with a ramp up period included. That being said, he could still be ready in time for opening day, even if he requires a procedure. Even if it does require a surgery, we would remain optimistic that Francisco Lindor would be back for opening day, Stearns told reporters. Now, what does it mean? With Lindor sideline, the Mets will lean on Vito Brujan, Ronnie Mauricio, Jackson Clough, Greg Kessinger, Christian Arroyo, and others to get reps at the shortstop position during spring training. David Stearns mentions Vito Brujan, Jackson Clough, Greg Kessinger, Ronnie Mauricio, and Christian Arroyo as shortstop options for the Mets if Francisco Lindor misses time to start the season. If Lindor isn't ready by opening day, the Mets could potentially have natural shortstop Bo Bichette fill the void while he's out. Now, I did see a little panic actually. I saw a little clip by Anthony Rivera from Subway to Shade podcast, and and one of the captions he was saying that uh, he said something about Bichette learning third base. He should not be playing shortstop. Yeah, look, Bo Bichette played shortstop in his career, right? And for him to learn a new position like third base, listen, man, listen. It may not be easy. It may not be easy learning a new position though, man. But it takes time. It's not gonna happen. It's not going to. He's not gonna learn the whole thing of playing third base overnight. You got all spring training to actually learn the new position. So let's not get ahead of ourselves here. Um yeah, however, Stearns reiterated that the Mets are optimistic and confident that Lindor will be back by then, regardless of whether he needs surgery or not. So there you go. Um, let's see. The Mets have Mauricio, Brett Beatty, and Mark Vientos who can all play third base if Bichette shifts to short, his natural position. However, Stearns reiterated that the Mets are optimistic and confident that Lindor will be back by then, regardless of whether he needs surgery or not. Bichette was brought in to play third base for the Mets, a position he has never played at the big league level. It's possible that the Mets want Bichette to focus on the hot corner, which means it'll be difficult to take him off the spot while he's learning it. Jorge Polanco is another name on the roster who has experience at shortstop, but like Bichette, the Mets brought Polanco in to play a new position in first base. Second surgery this offseason, the hamate issue could very well result in Lindor's second surgery of the offseason following the 2025 campaign. Lindor underwent a minor cleanup procedure on his throwing elbow. Lindor was said to have been fully recovered from his de- debridement surgery and was going through all baseball activities before dealing with soreness in his left wrist hand area, which popped up in the last few days. Still, it's not an ideal situation for Lindor or the Mets to have him entering this 2026 season coming off multiple off-season surgeries. Now, I do want to do a little break. I want to do a little breakdown on this actually because I think this is very important for some of the Mets fans out there, man, who are basically trying to actually get a better understanding on not just the injury itself to the left hand, but the hamate bone thing. So I took the liberty to actually look into this actually. So um and this is from Ortho Info. So let's take a look at this actually. Um let's take a look at this. I actually wanted to okay. So um hook of the hamate fracture of the wrist. A hook of the hamate fracture is a break in one of the small bones, carpal bones, of the wrist. This type of fracture typically occurs during trauma to the palm and is associated with sports requiring the athlete to grip the handle of a piece of equipment, a golf club, baseball bat, which is the knob of the baseball bat, um, tennis racket, etc. Baseball and softball catchers can also sustain these fractures. Symptoms of a hook of the hamate fracture typically include swelling and pain in the small finger side of the palm just past the wrist joint. Grasping, pushing, and pulling often makes the pain worse. Treatment for a hook of the hamate fracture can range from immobilization to surgery. Um, Optimal treatment can depend on the fracture severity, how bad the break is, symptoms, and the desire to return to previous activity. So I want to take a look at this actually. So let's take a look at the anatomy. The wrist is formed by the two bones of the forearm, the radius and the ulna, and 8 small carpal bones. The carpal bones are arranged in 2 rows at the base of the hand. There are 4 bones in each row. The hamate bone is one of the carpal bones on the small finger side of the wrist, just above the ulna. The bone connects the wrist to the hand, specifically supporting the metacarpal bones of the ring and small pinky finger. The hook of the hamate is a bony projection, a piece of the bone that sticks out. It extends from the hamate bone toward the palm. The hook is located in the middle of the palm, slightly off center, toward the small pinky finger and just past the wrist crease. So, normal autonomy of the hand and wrist. The hamate is one of the small carpal bones in the wrist. The hook of the hamate is a process extending from this bone heading towards the palm. All right, so the hook of the hamate has many attachments. Of course, there's ligaments and or tendons that attach to the bone, but the most important is the transverse carpal ligament. This ligament extends from the hook of the hamate toward the carpal bones on the thumb side of the wrist, passing under the transverse carpal ligament, some quite close to the hook of the hamate are the tendons that connect to the fingers and thumb, the median nerve, which supplies motor signal to some muscles of the thumb and feeling to the thumb, index finger, middle finger, and half of the ring finger. On the opposite side of the hook of the hamate, small finger side, the ulnar artery and ulnar nerve pass closely by. The ulnar artery is a major blood supply to the hand. The ulnar nerve supplies motor signal to many of the muscles of the hand, as well as feeling to the small finger and half of the ring finger. Illustration showing a cross section of the wrist, highlighting the hamate bone and where the hook of the hamate black diamond Black Diamond, that's funny, man, is located in relation to the surrounding tissue, including the ulnar artery, motor branch of the ulnar nerve, and sensory branch of the ulnar nerve. Because important structures, finger tendons on the thumb side, and the ulnar artery and the nerve on the small finger side run close by the hook of the hamate. They can be damaged during hook of the hamate fractures. Furthermore, when hook of the hamate fractures do not heal, the jagged edges of the fracture can scrape and wear away these types, particularly the tendons, and results in ruptures. This can make it difficult or impossible to pull the fingers down into the palm, such as when you are trying to grab something or make a fist. So the description talks about the hook of the hamate fractures can be described by how close they are to where the hook actually arises, protrudes, or sticks out from the rest of the hamate, though many fractures occur at the base of the hook. Hook of the hamate fractures can also be classified according to the severity of displacement, how far the piece of the bone has moved out of its normal position. Non-displaced fracture. In this type of fracture, the bone fragments line up correctly. Displaced fracture. In this type of fracture, the bone fragments have moved out of their normal position. Now, the cause of the hook of the handmade fractures typically occur due to trauma to the palm. This could include a fall, an object striking the palm, a motor vehicle collision, etc. Classically, hook of the handmade fractures occur in athletes who grip the handle of a piece of equipment during sports like tennis or other racket sports, golf and baseball. In these cases, the energy of the equipment striking the ball travels through the handle and breaks the hook of the handmade. Fractures of the hook of the hamate typically occur in adults, but can happen in people of all ages. There are no specific risk factors or diseases that make you more likely to experience a hook of the hamate fracture. Um, I want to talk about the symptoms to what Francisco Lindor is going through right here because this is very important actually because I was actually listening to shouts to the guys from the Queens Baseball Live podcast actually, and they talked about it a bit. And I'm gonna give my thoughts. I'm gonna give my thoughts on what I feel about this after I cover this. So stick around. So the hook of the hamate fractures typically cause pain in the center of the palm of a little closer to the small pinky finger side than to the thumb side and just past the wrist increase. The pain is typically made worse by grasping, pushing, and any other form of pressure over the palm. Pain can be relatively mild and may be confused with a wrist sprain. As a result, many patients delay seeing a doctor. Some patients don't see a doctor until they experience a complication of the fracture, such as a tendon rupture resulting in inability to bring the finger into the palm. Pain in your wrist or palm that does not go away within 1 day of the injury may be a sign of a fracture. So it is important to see a doctor if your pain does not go away. Prompt treatment of a hook of the hamate fracture may help avoid potential complications. Um, yeah. So medical history and physical examination. During the exam, your doctor may talk with you about your general health. Will ask how your injury happened. Will ask you to describe your symptoms. Your doctor will also examine your wrist. With most fractures, there will be tenderness directly over the hook of the hamate in the palm. Your doctor will also look for swelling, bruising, loss of motion. Imaging tests, x-rays provide images of dense structures such as bone. Your doctor will likely order an x-ray to help determine whether you have a hook of the hamate fracture and whether the broken pieces of the bone are displaced. An x-ray will also help your doctor determine if you have any other fractures or dislocations. In some cases, a hook of the hamate fracture does not show up on an x-ray. In those cases, more advanced imaging may be needed. Computerized tomography scan. A CT scan can be helpful in reviewing a fracture of the hook of the hamate and can also show whether the bone is displaced. Your doctor may use information from the CT scan to determine to help determine your treatment plan. Magnetic resonance imaging scan. Your doctor may order an MRI to learn more about the bones and soft tissues in your wrist. An MRI can sometimes show a fracture of the hook of the hamate that cannot be seen on X-ray or even a CT scan. Now we go to, wait a second. Hang on a second. All right. Now, as far as the treatment, let's take a look here. I'm not gonna take a look at the complications. I just want to get to the root of all this, actually. So, as far as treatment, the treatment your doctor recommends will depend on several factors, including but not limited to the location of the break in the bone, whether the bone fragments are displaced, how long ago your injury happened, your age, and general health. Non-surgical treatment. Hook of the hamate fractures can sometimes be successfully treated without surgery. Typically, treatment includes immobilizing the wrist in a cast or splint and avoiding activity that may disrupt fracture healing, such as grasping, pushing, and pulling. Healing time varies from patient to patient. Your doctor will monitor your healing with x-rays or other imaging tests. In some cases, your doctor may recommend the use of a bone stimulator to assist in the fracture healing. This small device delivers low intensity ultrasonic or pulsed electromagnetic waves that stimulate healing. Some early studies suggest that these devices may help the hook of the hamate to heal. Surgical treatment. Hook of the hamate fractures are often treated surgically for a variety of reasons. Athletes who demand a prompt return to sport may request surgery to speed up their recovery. Patients treated non-operatively without success, meaning conservative treatments did not improve symptoms and or function, may choose to proceed with surgery. While a hook of the hamate fractures can sometimes be fixed with pins or screws, a majority of surgeries actually involve excision, which is removal of the hook of the hamate instead of attempting to get it to heal. In most cases, surgically removing the hook of the hamate reverses symptoms, does not negatively affect hand and wrist function, speeds up recovery since there is no waiting period for the bone to heal. Patients can return to activity as soon as their skin incision is healed. Thus, this is often the procedure of choice for athletes. And now we talk about the recovery. Non-surgical treatment may include multiple weeks to months of immobilization in a cast or splint. During this time, unless advanced activity is approved by your doctor, you should avoid the following activities: lifting, carrying, pushing, or pulling more than 1 pound of weight, batting, hitting a tennis ball, golfing, or participating in any activity that requires you to grip a piece of sporting equipment, participating in contact sports, climbing ladders or trees, participating in activities with a risk of falling onto your hand, such as inline skating or jumping on a trampoline, using heavy machinery or machines, pieces of equipment that vibrates, and smoking, which can delay or prevent fracture healing. It can also affect healing after surgery. Surgery to repair the hook of the hamate fracture with fixation, securing the pieces of the bone together using pins or screws, may also require several weeks to months of immobilization and activity modification. Hook of the hamate excision often allows return to activity after wound healing 3 to 4 weeks after a short period of immobilization. But for Francisco Lindor, since he did the surgery already, it's going to take him 6 weeks till opening day. It is important to maintain full finger motion throughout your recovery period. Your doctor will provide an exercise program, and they may refer you to a trained hand therapist who will help you regain as much range of motion and strength in your wrist as possible. Despite hand therapy and a great deal of effort by the patient during home therapy, some patients may not recover the same range of motion and strength that they had before their injury. I want to say something actually, man, to not all the Mets fans, but some of the Mets fans who made an assumption and basically tried to blame Francisco Lindor and the organization on his injury. All right, look. Yeah, he's been dealing with that for years, okay? But the thing about Francisco Lindor is that he is determined to play through pain, okay? Now, why are we blaming Francisco Lindor for not mentioning this to anybody? Because the fact that he doesn't want to be shamed by the media based on his injury, like you have to understand something. You have to understand something though, man. Sometimes there's certain things you don't want to put out there, so you don't want to get ridiculed by the media, of course, which is it's not easy on a player though, man, to just talk about it and announce it right off the back. The thing is, many of you probably don't know what it's like to no, not many, but some of you may not know what it's like to actually have a left hand injury that deals with the hamate bone. As I was as I was, looking at this article right here, which is from orthoinfo.aaos.org, which is where you can actually get a better understanding on the handmade bone and an idea on what Francisco Lindor is going through. Listen, we don't know um the situation. We don't know the situation and why he didn't tell anybody. I mean, I know journalists of the media have like a job to do to actually gather information and do their reporting and stuff like that, but it's his decision and prerogative. If he wants to talk about it, he'll talk about it. If not, you can't ridicule the guy for not discussing it with not just Carlos Mendoza or the Mets organization. Like, come on, let's be real here. And I think you need to understand when your hamate bone is injured, it kind of affects the way you swing the bat. All right. And when you hold on to a baseball bat by the knob, it can affect the way you raise your power to actually be able to not only get hits but also to get home runs. But for him, his power is not going to return right away, even if it's a 6-week return from surgery. Even if he recovers, his power is not going to be back for months. So it's going to take time for him to actually, not only recover from his injury, but also gain his power back. He may not be able to hit 30 home runs again. Who knows? Let's wait and see what happens before we even jump the gun in panic mode and to be on some next shit, all doom and gloom. Don't panic. All right? Yeah, he had the surgery, and I actually was listening to Ryan Finkelstein's Locked On Mets podcast as he explained the whole story behind it, though. All right. If you'd like to know more information about what a handmade bone and handmade fracture is and stuff like that, I suggest you check out www.orthoinfo.aaos.org. All right. So that way you'll be able to get a better idea on the handmade injury that Francisco Lindor is going through. All right. Like, seriously, man. I don't see any of y'all doing any better. All right. Let's not jump the gun on things. Injuries are impossible to avoid. You feel what I'm saying? You cannot predict on baseball players on whether or not they're going to be healthy or not. You can't predict on which player is going to get an injury. You can't do that. At the end of the day, as Jackson Dart of the New York Giants said, injuries is part of the game. And we just gotta learn how to take into account that, not everyone is going to be able to be the same after an injury and after a Tommy John surgery, whatever it may be. All right. And I say that because these Met baseball players and other baseball organization teams, they are human beings at the end of the day. They're not AI robots to basically, obey their command. And why the hell do we need fucking AI robots in the game of baseball? The shit makes no fucking sense though, man. But you know what? I fucking digress on the AI shit though. I'll talk about that on my other podcast, Off the Meat Rat Chains New York Avenue podcast in the future. All right. So yeah, there you go right there, man. There you go right there. I just had to actually make some of the Mets fans understand this injury and how serious this shit is. This is not a game. It's not a fucking game, folks. I think it's really ignorant to actually blame somebody off of an injury that they didn't want to talk about. And I think it's very, 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 very absurd to actually put the blame on the organization and a fellow teammate who's been putting in the work for years. And this guy, Francisco Lindor, has 6 years off of his contract left. And he's 32. And like I said, let's not jump the gun. Let's not panic, and let's not press the doom and gloom button. For real though, don't fucking panic. Yeah. Let's see. Let's see what else we gotta talk about here. Yes. Um, yes, so basically, all right, so this episode is about a reunion with some New York Mets off-season talks, right? The Mets brought back Brooks Raley. Let's talk about him actually, and then we'll talk about Craig Kimbrel. All right. Um, and yes, I like to cover a little bit of spring training if I have a chance actually. All right, so let's see. New York Mets um report to spring training news 2025. Excuse hold on, 2026. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, 2026. Let's see. So, um, all right, let's talk Brooks Raley. I'll get back to that. I'll get back to it. So let's get to Brooks Raley for a second. Um, let's see. Yes. Um, Brooks Raley. Yes, Brooks Raley had a 2024 season to forget. The veteran lefty performed well in 8 games for the Mets that season, not allowing a single earned run in 7 innings. But an elbow injury forced him to undergo Tommy John surgery and his season in late May. He was a free agent after the season, and as soon as to be 37-year-old reliever with an elbow surgery under his belt, went unsigned through the entirety of the offseason and into the beginning of 2025 campaign. Eventually, David Stearns came calling, and the veteran re-signed with the Mets on April 25th of last year. Raley made his return to the major leagues, took place on July 18th, and was godsend for a beleaguered Mets bullpen. The veteran lefty was a stabilizing force for the Mets, earning a 2.45 ERA paired with a 25.3% strikeout rate and an MLB career low 6.1% walk rate in 30 games. 25.2 innings pitched. When filtering down to 20 innings pitched, Rarely was second on the team in F WAR 0.8 behind Edwin Diaz, who's with the Dodgers now. Third in ERA behind Diaz and Tyler Rogers, who's with the Blue Jays now. And second in win probability added 0.78 behind Diaz. He was their second best reliever once he came back from his elbow injury. His 2025 season does not have much more to tell. He came back from Tommy John and was just as good as he has been since his 2022 season in Tampa Bay, where he put himself on the map as a high quality reliever after he had a tumultuous early career that saw him spend 5 seasons as a starter in the KBO for the Lot Giants. The most interesting point of conversion around Raley is his contract, which ended up being an excellent piece of work by David Stearns. Raley has a team option for 2026 for just $4,750,000, which seems to be a no-brainer to pick up for the Mets. With the 2026 bullpen in a bit of a flux, as Edwin Diaz was a free agent now with the Dodgers now, and no real homegrown relievers yet to take over the high leverage spots. Rarely will provide some key innings in the later innings of games next season. If the 2026 Mets are going to go back to being competitive, they will need players like Brooks Raley to perform well. And if his 2025 is any indication, he is healthy and more than capable of being a high leverage reliever for the Mets next season. Oh, this whole thing about Dylan Ross, I'll get back to that as well. Let's see. Hold on. Craig Kimbrel. All right, Craig Kimbrel. Let's get to that actually. Craig Kimbrel. Hang on. Hang on 1 second here. Wait a minute. All right. Let me find that story. Craig Kimbrel. Okay. I know what to do. All right. Craig Kimbrel. Okay. All right. Let's get to Craig Kimbrel. All right. So the New York Mets continued their busy offseason by bringing in a decorated closer for bullpen depth. Late on Saturday, reliever Craig Kimbrel signed a minor league deal with the Mets that contains a MLB spring training invitation as a source confirmed to Pat Ragazzo of On SI. The New York Post's John Heyman was the first to report the signing, while Will Salmon of The Athletic reported that Kimbrel will receive a $2.5 million base salary if he makes the team. Source discusses Craig Kimbrel has agreed to a minor league deal with the New York Mets that includes a MLB spring training invite. So there you go. Kimbrel, who's 37, is perhaps one of the best closers of his generation, being instantly recognizable by baseball fans for his pre-pitch stance, hard hard fastball and sharp breaking curveball. As a rookie in 2011 with the Atlanta Braves, a hated rival of the Mets, the right-hander set a rookie record with 46 saves while posting a 2.10 ERA, 1.52 FIP, and 127 strikeouts in just 77 innings, subsequently winning the NL Rookie of the Year award. Entering the 2026 season, Kimbrel has the fifth most saves in baseball history with 440, which is the second most among active players, behind Kenley Jansen. A nine-time All-Star, he has a 2.58 lifetime ERA, 2.61 FIP, 1.02 WHIP, and 14.04 strikeouts per 9 innings in 4 different seasons. Kimbrel struck out 100 batters or more in fewer than 80 innings. Despite his pedigree, the Mets would be the right-hander's eighth different team since 2021 if he successfully makes the big league roster. Over the past 5 seasons, he's pitched with the Chicago Cubs, Chicago White Sox, Los Angeles Dodgers, Philadelphia Phillies, Baltimore Orioles, and Houston Astros, in addition to a second stint with the Braves that lasted just one appearance. Kimbrel also signed a minor league deal with the Texas Rangers in the middle of the 2025 season, but would not make a major league appearance with them. Craig Kimbrel and the Mets are in agreement on a minors deal. League sources confirmed by John Heyman. Kimbrel gets a $2.5 million base salary if he makes the team, according to Will Salmon. Although Kimbrel may not be the pitcher he once was, it certainly doesn't hurt the Mets to take a flyer on him, as their bullpen is already looking very different. The biggest change is the loss of Edwin Diaz after he signed with the Dodgers during the winter meetings back in December, but key setup man Reed Garrett and Daniel Nunez will not be pitching at all in 2026 after both underwent Tommy John surgery. New York has addressed the bullpen this winter by signing free agents Devin Williams, Luke Weaver, and Luis Garcia. Williams will be the team's closer, while Weaver will likely be used in tandem with AJ Minter as a setup man. Other relievers on the Mets 40-man roster include Huascar Brazaban, Joey Gerber, Richard Lovelady, Brooks Raley, and hard-throwing prospect Dylan Ross, which I'll talk about him next. In spite of a dominant campaign from the since departed Diaz in 2025, the Mets relief corps struggled with consistency and totaled a middling 3.93 ERA, 15th in the majors. With Williams in tow, Kimbrel will not be utilized in his usual role if he makes the team, but his ability to generate swings and misses should still be valuable to New York's bullpen. All right, before I get to that, I want to actually mention some stuff actually. So let me see. All right. Obviously, as I was watching New York Nightcap, Nelson Figueroa, aka Figgy, and Simone Eli were the ones reporting what's going on in Port St. Lucie. There has been a catchers and pitchers meeting, so I want to actually, go over this actually. So if this thing could load, wait a minute here. It's not it. That's not it. Hold on. find that article. Let me find that article real quick. Let me see. Hold on 1 second here. Actually, let's do this though. Let's do this topic here. Let's do this. The Mets announced their full slate of invitees not on the 40-man roster ahead of this Wednesday's pitchers and catchers reporting date, which was the 11th or 12th, I believe, this week. Among the more interesting names are top prospect Carson Benz, Ryan Clifford, AJ Ewing, and Jack Weniger. Veterans Craig Kimbrel, Austin Barnes, and Carl Edwards Jr. are among the players hoping to extend their careers on the back end. With the MJ Melendez signing not yet official. Actually, he signed a 1-year deal. He signed a 1-year deal. The 40-man roster is still in a state of flux, but we can presume that the Mets will have 37 of the 40 on their roster in big league camp, with Reed Garrett, Tyler McGill, and Daniel Nunez all out for the season after arm surgeries. That means that the Mets will have 66, give or take, once the Melendez signing becomes official. It's already official, but he's just not added to the roster. While the 26-man roster is fairly predictable at this point, there area few spots at the fringes that will be interesting stories this spring. Plus, this will be many fans' first looks at some prospects who may wind up being key players for the club this year and beyond. Spring training, same as it ever was. All of that to say, baseball's nearly back, baby. And the full list of both NRIs and members of the 40-man roster is below. So here we go. You got the pitchers: Huascar Brazoban, Alex Carrillo, Luis Garcia, Joey Gerber, Justin Hageman, Clay Holmes, Sean Manaea, Nolan Lightning McQueen, Tyler McGill, AJ Minter, Tobias Myers, Freddie Peralta, who they recently signed, David Peterson, Jonathan Pintaro, Brooks Raley, Dylan Ross, Christian Scott, who may start in the minor leagues, actually. He's not on the roster. Kodai Senga, Jonathan, Austin Warren, Luke Weaver, Devin Williams, Adbert Ozole, Mike Bowman, Nick Bundy, Daniel Duarte, Carl Edwards Jr., Kevin Herget, Joel Jacks, Craig Kimbrel, Ryan Lambert, Nate Lavender, Anderson Severino, Robert Stott, Matt Turner, Brandon Waddell, and Jack Winninger. You got catchers of Francisco Alvarez, Hayden Singer, who changed his number to number 6. Luis Torrens is still on the roster. Austin Barnes, Kevin Parada, and Chris Suero. Infielders includes Brett Baty, who might be playing right field or first base in the future. Francisco Lindor, who is going to be out for 6 weeks due to the left hand injury to his hamate bone. We're not sure what's going on with Ryan Mauricio, but Jorge Polanco, Marcus Semien, who's 35, turning 36, Mark Vientos, Christian Arroyo, Ryan Clifford, Jackson Clough, Greg Kessinger, Jacob Reimer, and Jose Rojas. Nick Morabito has been on the 40-man roster to avoid being drafted by another team. Luis Robert Jr.,
Juan Soto, who moved to left field, Tyrone Taylor, who's also the best outfielder ever, Jared Young, still in the minors. MJ Melendez has not been added to the roster quite yet. He might be in the minors and stuff. So Ji Hwan Bae is also in the minors. Carson Bench is also in the minors, actually. AJ Ewing, Christian Potch, and Jose Ramos. So these are the players that's basically going to be included in the spring training 2026 games. All right. So there you go, right there. There you go, right there. Now I want to I want to go over Dylan Ross for a sec. Actually, I want to go over Dylan Ross. Let me see. Let me see. Let me see. Let me see. I want to go over Dylan Ross. Yeah. Dylan Ross has such a good year in the minors in 2025 that he put himself on the prospect map here at Amazing Avenue, ranking 18th on our list of the team's top 25 prospects. And that was before the Mets trade that sent Jet Williams and Brendan Sproat to the Brewers, which effectively bumped nearly everyone on the list up a couple of spots. You can read all about the 25-year-old right-handed pitcher's backstory in Steve Seiper's write-up of him during the prospect list countdown. The short of it is that the Mets drafted him in the 13th round in the 2022 draft. The team was aware that he was injured at the time, and a lengthy recovery delayed his professional debut until the 2024 season, and even that consisted of just a one inning appearance. Ross finally got the chance to pitch a full season in 2025 and started the season in High A Brooklyn. Got promoted to Double A Binghamton in May and got bumped up to Triple A Syracuse in late June. In total, he threw 54.0 innings and with a 2.17 ERA over the course of 49 appearances, with a 35.7 percent strikeout rate and a 14.7% walk rate. Whether or not Ross can be an effective reliever at the major league levels remains to be seen. It's not impossible for a reliever to pitch well in spite of a bad walk rate, but it certainly doesn't help to have one. And for what is worth, the projection systems published at Fangraphs generally have him hovering around an ERA of 4 in 30 something innings at the major league level this year. All right. All right. Yeah, Brett Baty. Let's talk about Brett Baty. Let's talk about Brett Baty, though. Let's talk about Brett Baty. All right. David Stern saw enough from Brett Baty's strong finish to 2025 season to know that he had to factor in the Mets' 2026 plans somehow, even if his primary position had been taken up by others. A natural third baseman, Baty's best chances of increasing his number of at bats will be by adopting the role of New York's super utility man, which includes learning and getting comfortable with first base and left field. Baty finds himself behind Bo Bichette on the depth chart after the former Toronto Blue Jays star shortstop signed a 3-year, $126 million deal to move to his spot at the hot corner. His second position, second base, is now occupied by Marcus Semien, who was acquired in the Brendan Nimmo trade from the Texas Rangers back in November. End quote. I think Brett has the ability, and we're going to challenge him to have the ability to play a bunch of different positions. Stearns said, we know he can play third and second. He proved that to us last year. I think we're probably going to add first and left to his toolkit as well. That's a pretty good portfolio if he can get to the point where he's got all four of those comfortably in his bag. He's going to see a lot of time on the field. The Mets potential for shortstop infield, as Stearns reference will feature career middle infielder Jorge Polanco getting his first shot at first base after learning the position during pregame infield work last season with the Seattle Mariners. He has only manned the position for one at bat and has never recorded a chance. That makes two veteran infielders who will be manning brand new positions in 2026. And manager Carlos Mendoza, Carlos Mendoza admitted that Polanco's transition is the one that is going to take a little bit of time compared to Bichette assimilating to third. End quote. I'm not worried about him catching a ground ball. I think it's more of the footwork receiving throws, being in the right place in the cuts and the relays, getting familiar with the pitching staff, things like that. Only game reps will teach him. Should Baty prove himself competent there, it is vital left-handed insurance on the depth chart behind Mark Vientos. Out in left field, things remain wide open. The Mets acquired Luis Robert Jr. from the Chicago White Sox on Tuesday to take over the starting job at center field. Top prospect Carson Bench, as Stearns reiterated on Wednesday, will have a chance to break out of spring training with a big league club where left field is a far easier introduction compared to center. Baty has played left in the minors and has shown a big arm that could translate well if needed. While backup center fielder Tyrone Taylor can provide elite defense at any of the three outfield positions. End quote. I've been very open that Carson Bench is going to have a chance to make this team. We've got a lot of people in our organization who believe Brett Baty is going to be a really good left fielder once he gets some experience out there. We have some options out there. Outside of Baty's potential versatility, his bat down the stretch of last season made him a priority on Stearns' keeper list. Over his final 74 games of 2025, he slashed 289, 352, 462, 814 OPS with 10 home runs and 26 RBIs. All right. All right. All right. All right. So all right. Let's wrap up here, man. Let's wrap up here. All right. So we're going to wrap up here with this last segment right here. Hold on a second. All right, let's go to the very last segment of the night, which is stream choices on the go. Let's go. All right. Make sure you follow the sports platform Excellent Fun Vibrant Talks podcast on Facebook alongside with Bluesky Social, Threads, and Instagram. The same goes for my other podcast shows that I do, which is the entertainment review show, Meticulous Vibe Juice Podcast, alongside with the comedy Off the Meat Rat Chains New York Avenue podcast. All right. And you can also follow your host with the most G Money Stacks 555 on Threads and Instagram as well. Okay. When you go to the link in bio, you're going to see a list of streaming audio podcast platform feeds. Yeah, you're going to see a list of podcast platform feed links. And this includes Audible, Odyssey, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts. Don't forget to leave a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts alongside with a positive review. It really helps the show grow, and of course content creators and hosts like myself basically gains more confidence and be able to create more topics and more content episodes for you folks at home that's listening. All right, we're on Castbox FM, Deezer, Listen Notes, Moon FM Podcast, Overall FM Podcast, Pandora, Player FM, Pocket Cast, Podo Polo, Podorama Podcast, Index Podcast Addict, Podchaser, Podverse Podcast, Guru, Podcatcher, Podcast Republic, Snipped, and you can also add the podcast to your Spotify playlist. Don't forget to click on the notification bell so you'll be notified on new episodes being uploaded to Spotify and other streaming platforms on a weekly basis. You can also listen on Spotify for creators alongside with TuneIn, Fountain, Good Pods, iHeartRadio, the #1 app where you can listen to your favorite music artists such as rappers, R&B singers, pop stars, rock and roll artists, and other music genres, including hip hop artists, your favorite AM and FM radio stations, and you can listen to the podcast episodes for free. You don't need a credit card or debit card to download iHeartRadio. All you have to do is grab your iPhones and your Android phones alongside with your Android your iPads and Android tablets, so you can download iHeartRadio onto your iPhones, your Android phones, iPads, Android tablets, alongside with laptop models of Apple and Dell laptop models. All right. And don't forget to actually share this. Don't forget to share this with everybody that you know that's listening to anything sports related. And make sure you click on the subscribe button on the sports YouTube channel page of Excellent Fun Vibrant Talks podcast, alongside with leaving a like and a comment on the sports topics being discussed. How do you feel? Tell me how you feel about the explanation behind what a handmade bone is and a handmade bone fracture is, as far as like the symptoms and everything in regards to Francisco Lindor. So express yourself with your thoughts in the comment section. All right, and share the Linktree link of the sports podcast with your husbands, your wives, your boyfriends, girlfriends, people you're cool with from work, all that great stuff. And enable alerts by clicking on the notification bell so you'll be notified on when I'll be on the air via live stream alongside with new podcast recordings and including new episodes being recorded as well. New episodes will be Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. All right. All right, so that's gonna do it for me, man. I'm gonna wrap this up right here. I'm your man G Money Stacks, aka the Gregonator, and I'd like to say thank you very much for listening to me and hearing me out on the Francisco Lindor handmade bone injury to his left hand injury. All right. I and you could have listened to any other sports podcast in the whole world, but you chose to listen to the sports podcast platform right here. Remember, the grind doesn't stop. Hard work pays off. If you want something, you have to work hard and earn it. It's not going to be given to you on a fucking silver platter. Find your niche, follow your goals and dreams in whatever career field you're trying to do. And if you plan on starting a podcast, make sure you be on your P's and Q's. Be yourself behind the microphone as you're recording your episodes and topics, creatively, mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. That gets you into your zone alongside with tunnel vision. All right. And listen, please do not press the doom and gloom and panic button quite yet, though, in regards to the Francisco Lindor left hand injury of the handmade bone, of the stress reaction to his handmade bone. So if you'd like to learn more about the handmade bone and the injury itself, like I said before, you can listen to this episode right here as it gets uploaded to the YouTube channel page. All right. Do not panic. And please do not write him off just because he didn't tell anybody about his health situation. And the fact that I just said he does not want to be shamed by the media for not talking about this. All right? Let's not panic. Let's not panic. Let's not press the panic button and the doom and gloom type of shit though, man. You know what I'm saying? Give him 6 weeks to recover from the surgery. He just had the surgery yesterday. All right? Just give him time. And as I was saying earlier, he may not be able to have his power back right away. It may take him months, even if it means waiting till June to get his power back. It may take like maybe 3 months. You never know. You never know what type of surprise Francisco Lindor might pull. Because you know what I like about him, he is determined with confidence and determination to play through any type of pain and injury that he has suffered through. But he's not going to let one health setback stop him from playing. All right? So let's not get ahead of ourselves and through speculation and assumptions and blaming somebody off of it. Come on now. You know what I'm saying? I broke it down in this episode right here. So you're more than welcome to actually listen to this episode as this is being uploaded on the sports YouTube channel page though, man. All right, man. Stay tuned for more new topics in the next episode, and I'll be back with more new sports topics in regards to the New York Mets, regarding their catchers and training, meeting, and other spring training related stuff. Anything that I find, I'll talk about it on this podcast as well. And there you go, right there, though, man. Listen, I want y'all to subscribe to the Queens Baseball Live Podcast YouTube channel page, and also Anthony's Subway to Shade podcast, which is going to start at 9:30 tomorrow night. I'm going to start this at around 6:15 after my dinner tomorrow. All right. Stay tuned for episode 116 and new topics in the next episode. Peace and one love. I hope y'all enjoy your Valentine's Day weekend with your loved ones, whatsoever. And stay safe. And I'll see y'all on the flip side. Peace and one love. Have a good night, everybody.